The campfire crackled. Stars twinkled above the lonely woods. Chris, Max, and Emily huddled closer to the warmth. They were alone, or so they thought. A blood-curdling scream pierced the night. It came from the woods, echoing through the darkness. Emily gasped, clutching Chris's arm. "What was that?" Max whispered, his eyes wide with fear. Chris tried to stay calm. "Probably just an animal," he said, though his voice shook a little. But deep down, he felt a shiver of unease. Something wasn't right. The scream had sounded too human, too full of terror. They couldn't ignore it. They had to see if someone needed help. "Let's stick together," Chris said, grabbing a flashlight. He led the way, his heart pounding with each step. The forest was alive with strange noises. Twigs snapped, leaves rustled. Each sound made them jump. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper into the woods. A sense of dread settled over them. They were walking into the unknown. A faint light flickered in the distance. As they got closer, the light grew stronger, casting an eerie glow on the trees. It was a lantern, hanging from a branch. Underneath the lantern lay their worst nightmare. Their campsite was destroyed. Tents were ripped apart, supplies were scattered everywhere, and in the center of it all, a horrifying sight awaited them. A figure lay sprawled on the ground, unmoving. "Oh my God!" Emily cried, covering her mouth with her hand. They rushed towards the figure, fear gripping their hearts. As they drew closer, they could see it was a young girl. Her clothes were torn and her face was gone. It was as if someone or something had erased it, leaving only smooth skin. Terror choked Chris's breath. He had never seen anything so terrifying. Max stumbled back, tripping over a log. He landed hard, his eyes fixated on the faceless girl. The lantern swayed gently in the breeze, casting long, dancing shadows. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist, taking on monstrous shapes. They were surrounded by darkness, with only the lantern's eerie glow to guide them. And then, they heard it. A low growl, coming from the darkness behind them. They whirled around, their flashlights scanning the trees. A hunched figure emerged from the darkness. It was an old man, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. He was clutching something in his hand, something long and thin and bone-white. As he got closer, they realized with horror what it was. A human arm. Its flesh was rotten, its fingers twisted at unnatural angles. The old man grinned, revealing a mouth full of jagged teeth. "You shouldn't have seen that," he croaked, his voice raspy and chilling. He pointed the arm at Chris. "You're next." Chris knew they had to escape. He pushed Emily and Max behind him. "Run!" he yelled. They hesitated for a moment, paralyzed by fear. But the sight of the old man and the grotesque arms spurred them into action. They turned and ran, their screams swallowed by the night. The old man gave chase, his laughter echoing behind them. Chris glanced back and saw the faceless girl rising from the ground, her empty eyes fixed on them. They were surrounded by nightmares. Chris knew he had to do something to save his friends. He stopped running and turned to face their pursuers. "Go!" he shouted, his voice hoarse with fear and determination. "I'll hold them off." Emily and Max didn't want to leave him, but they knew it was their only chance. They ran blindly through the darkness, the sounds of Chris's struggle fading behind them. They didn't stop running until they reached the edge of the woods. Gasping for breath, they collapsed on the dew-covered grass, their bodies trembling with fear and exhaustion. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness, they looked back at the woods, their hearts heavy with dread and guilt. They had made it out alive, but at what cost? Chris jolted awake, his body covered in sweat. He was in his bed, sunlight streaming through his window. It was all a dream, a vivid, terrifying dream. He could still feel the fear clutching at his heart, the cold, dead touch of the faceless girl, the chilling laughter of the old man. He got out of bed and walked to the window. The world outside was bright and cheerful, a stark contrast to the nightmare he had just experienced. But even as he tried to convince himself it was just a dream, a nagging feeling lingered in the back of his mind. A sense of unease, a premonition that something was wrong. He couldn't shake the feeling that the dream was a warning to trust his instincts, to be careful, to cherish the people he loved. Because sometimes the line between dreams and reality was thinner than you thought.